You've got it.
Yep, I do. I had to write it on this, so don't forget. So my name's Amanda. I run a charity called Chain Dog Awareness. So we predominantly deal with owners of life chain dogs. So what we do is we do education, so we're not a rescue as such.
Yep.
So we provide education to owners to teach them how to be good dog owners, to get them off the chain. We provide training, de-sexing, all of that sort of thing. As part of that, we do end up with dogs in our care. That's just kind of a byproduct, I guess.
Yep.
I guess this is of great concern to us because we do have dogs in our care that would be considered pit bull breed. So I guess I've emailed this question and I haven't got a response as yet. This rehoming policy that you're trying to put through, does this apply to rescues? So rescue is an unregulated industry. So there's no governing body, nobody looks after it, anything like that. So how does this apply to rescues for a start?
So there are a few of you that are interested in the dog control changes? Okay. So I'll apologise to those that haven't come for that purpose. I'll go over this as quickly as I can, but I think it's important that you understand the broader piece of work. So there's three elements of it. The first is legislative change. The second is best practice with local councils. So obviously as the government, I'm leading the legislative change, working very closely and have been with the Animal Control the New Zealand Institute of Animal Control Officers, Local Government New Zealand and the Society of Local Government Managers. I've been working with the Veterinary Association, the SPCA, the companion animals, animal breeders, etc. So there's a broad range of stakeholders that have been involved in the discussion so far around the legislation. Around the best practice, Local Government New Zealand will lead that and central government will support it. So one of the issues that's come up in the variety of consultation meetings I've had to date, including those from victims of dog attacks, has been inconsistency in council practice. So some councils are fantastic and others don't put quite the same attention into it. It might be that one council has a bylaw that means, a particular restriction on a particular classification of dog. The neighbouring council doesn't have it. So it's quite confusing, both for dog owners and for trying to manage what is a growing problem. So in terms of a growing problem, the increase in dog bites, dog attacks over the last 10 years has increased 58%.
Is that proportionate to the increase in population as well?
No, it's not. It's definitely not. So the other big challenge that I wanted to address in this process was 60% of the dog attacks occur on private property. And too much of the constraints or controls are on public property. So I wanted to work with local government to come up with a best practice guide to say this is how we believe it should be done, gets all the innovative practices from different councils around the country and puts it in one place so that we've got more consistent and a higher quality of animal control on the ground. Part of that includes identification of breed, because again that's really inconsistent currently, and there are some councils who use DNA testing, others don't, and so we also want to incorporate all the best practices around identification.
But why does breed matter?
I'll come to that.
Okay.
Just let me outline that area. So the third part is probably the biggest area, and that is a public education campaign. So parts of that campaign, the biggest emphasis will be around dog ownership. So too few people understand what their responsibilities are if they are a dog owner. And we want to make sure that they know they are responsible. They are responsible for the safety of others around their dog. Some of it is, really simple. If you're thinking about getting a dog, what's the right environment? What's the sort of dog that's going to suit you and your family? Getting a university student a dog for their 18th birthday might not kind of be a sensible decision. So have a think through what the implications of that might be. because we want good dog owners, we want responsible dog owners, and therefore that means dogs that are better looked after. The second part of that is how to identify behaviours in dogs that might then signify a potential risk. And the third part of it is particularly the broader kind of community safety issues, because some of the people that came to the victims' meetings had no idea who to even ring. They didn't know that the councils looked after animal control. They didn't know who to contact. In one instance, this dad had said he'd seen a dog in the park when he was out with his kids in the park. He'd seen this concerning kind of behaviour, but had no idea who he was meant to ring to talk to about it. So that was a concern. So those are the three different components. They do all fit together. So going back to the legislation, I've announced 6 aspects so far. There are 3 more that I'm at work on, and hope to have those finalised next month. So the 6 that have been announced so far are around the existing classifications, right? I am not making any changes to the current legislation we have. So we do have breed-specific legislation. I'm not proposing to change it. So where the focus of these changes is, instead of putting blanket requirements on every dog owner in the country, the focus is on the high-risk dog population. So those that are already classified, either by what they've done, so in terms of their deed, or in terms of their breed. I'm not increasing or changing any classifications that are currently in place. Right? So I really need you to understand that. I could have, and there was some fairly strong calls from different quarters to go further and add more breeds, but I said no, I'm not going to do that. But equally, I'm not at this point interested in changing it either. So in terms of the measures, it's then looking at, if you own a high-risk dog, there are greater levels of responsibility for you as an owner.
What determines a high-risk dog though?
What, a dog that's currently classified. So, as I said,
Why is it being classified like that?
Well, that was in the 2003 legislation. So, and I accept there will be some people that don't like it, but I am not changing the breed-specific legislation.
Can I just point out that it's not that we don't like it, I think
Yeah.
it's more about the fact that there's no scientific evidence to support it.
Yeah, so I'll come to that. So of the 6 things that I've introduced currently, they are around high-risk dogs and saying it is the owner's responsibility. If you own a dog that is currently classified, there is a greater level of responsibility on you. And all of the comments that have come back, everybody said, it's not the dog, it's the owner. I agree. It is the owner. And we need to make sure that owners live up to their responsibilities of keeping people safe from their dogs. So in terms of the changes, fencing requirements, signs on fences, which is what they have in Australia currently, the same with collars. So if you have a dog out in public, it's about how do we encourage or educate other people to be able to recognise a dog that may cause a risk. Okay?
Any
May.
dog potentially
Absolutely.
can cause
I get that completely.
So then
Yeah.
every dog needs to have something on its collar, which then just by default makes it pointless.
Yeah, so you either want to listen to the changes I'm proposing or you don't. I'm quite happy if you don't, but I think it's only fair that I outline all of the changes and as I said, this is a meeting for Cambridge constituents on Cambridge related issues and I don't want all of the time to be taken up with an issue that's a ministerial matter, not my responsibility as a local MP. All right?
Can I just ask, so my name's Dr. Claire Brown, I'm a researcher in dog behaviour, PhD in dog behaviour.
Yep.
So internationally the research shows that dog-specific legislation does not reduce dog bites. So with the extension of not rehoming
Yep.
pit bull types, which as I understand is not actually defined in legislation, is that correct, the pit bull type?
It is.
Defined?
Yeah,
What's
it's
the
a Schedule
definition
4.
of that?
It's on a schedule. It's listed on Schedule 4. There are 4 breeds and 1 type. So the
What is-
American
What is,
pit
yeah, I know
bull
that,
type.
I know
Yeah.
the names, but what's the definition of pit bull type?
Well, that's part of the work that I want to incorporate into the best practice around identification, because I
we also know
accept.
that research shows that when people are given, for example, photos of pit bull types and then DNA tests, they don't match up. People are very inconsistent. in
Yeah,
their
which is why I
identification.
said the work with councils to get better practice around identification is an important part of the work in parallel. So in terms of the 6, you obviously all know the changes. In terms of rehoming, no, the intention in the policy announcement is no rehoming of classified dogs.
Why is that when the research shows that will make no difference in reducing dog bites? and
Well,
reducing risk
I'm
to
going to
humans?
differ in terms of opinion. I do want
It's
to
not
talk.
opinion, it's fact, it's science.
Well, I'm going to talk about the next 3 components of the policy change, right? Because one of the challenges we do have in New Zealand at the moment is inconsistent data. So we have some data, and I want to make sure we are gathering more data before there is any consideration around breeds and types in Schedule 4. So as I said, I could have made changes to it now. I've said no. I want to get more data that would lead to information to go either way with Schedule 4 currently, but I'm unwilling to do that now. So part of the next piece of legislative reform is collecting better data.
So why the rehoming policy then now without that data?
Because-
we've
It
got
still
very
sounds
good
that
international
that
data.
you're pro banning and segregating and what's the word I'm looking for? You're pro being against dangerous breeds.
No, the legislation currently has classifications that I'm not changing. All I am saying, in terms of reducing the risk and harm from dog attacks, is if you have a classified dog, currently classified, there are greater responsibilities on you. It's very simple and straightforward. So